As I stated before, I really hate when a video game has awful boss battles. It was my #1 most hated thing in gaming, as a matter of fact. I mean, a bad boss can have every nail you despise. Bad design, clunky controls, cheap difficulties, one-hit chaos, button mashing, and a bucket of awful etc. So today, just as I promised on my last video, I will list my 10 least favorite video game boss fights. Yeah, you heard that correctly. This is a least favorite bosses list, not a worst battles ever. Having said that, please remember this is my own personal opinion, and if you actually like one of these bosses, it's perfectly fine. But please, don't leave any insulting bullshit on the comment section. Also, this has a 1 per franchise rule and tons of spoilers for different game series. This is my first fully negative countdown I had ever made. Trust me, all this rage is going to get interesting.
Now, I'm gonna get my revenge once and for all. Come on, Prez. Unleash your hate, your anger, everything. I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
If I had to give the prize to the most overrated boss battle ever, I would give it to the end from Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Oh, don't get me wrong, I can see why everyone likes it so much. The end is an interesting character, and the fight was original and intense, but I just felt it was boring, frustrating, and just plain uninspired. He almost made it into this list, but all Snake Eater players should know that there is an even worse battle in the game. And that would be none other than the Fear! Of all the Cobra unit members, the Fear is by far the weakest in every characteristic. His design is plain, he has no backstory, and his concept was interesting, yet his execution on his battle was not the best one. You will fight him in a jungle full of different annoying traps that you definitely won't see coming. Why? Because you will have to use your heat-seeking vision in order to tell where your enemy is, but that won't help much, because that fucker will constantly jump between the trees, and if you don't damage him on time, the Fear will heal himself with the fruit gathered around the battlefield.
Excuse me, but did you say something about self-healing bosses?
Well, I'm kind of talking about the Fear, Kaden.
And he heals himself.
Yeah, he does. Anyways, let's not forget he constantly shoots poison darts at you, and you will have to heal the poison if you don't want to die. Trust me, you're going to see this screen a lot. Overall, the battle against the Fear could have been a lot better. Since I admit it, his skills and abilities are way more interesting than him, but the obligatory use of the heat-seeking vision, the annoying traps that interrupt you, the way he becomes invisible and sneaks to kick your butt, make what could have been an epic fight into a frustrating match. And before we move on, there is one last thing I wanted to say. The Fear!
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
Bosses in the Kirby franchise are rather hit or miss for me. On one hand, you have epic battles like Magolor, Marx, the Computer Virus, and Zero 2, but on the other, you have battles that are just meh. One example is the overhated Wispy Woods. I mean, yeah, he's pathetically easy and stupid, but come on, you have to give him credit. He's symbolic for the series, and at least he tries to damage you, unlike another boss. Or should I say, bosses? That's right, at number 9 we have the awful battle against Lololo and Lalala in Kirby Superstar Ultra. Just look at this, They are two spheres with eyes, legs and arms, moving blocks to kill you. This has to be one of the most boring and uninspired boss battles I have ever faced. Seriously, when I battled these two in the arena, I beat them in a few seconds, and I suck at the arena. Oh, you may be saying, but Obsidious fan, Lololo and Lalala were based on the adventures of Lolo, a classic NES games. Well, guess who doesn't give a shit about that? Seriously, the symbolism only works if the battle is at least entertaining. Overall, Lololo and Lalala are such pathetic excuse for a boss fight that I don't really want to talk about them anymore. But we asked Kirby about the battle and he responded, LOL LOL LOL. Okay, yeah, let's move on.
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
As I said on my last countdown, I'm not a big fan of Mario Party. Oh, don't get me wrong, I do think it's an excellent game series and that you can have a lot of fun with it. I seriously do, but it has a lot of different aspects and mechanics that I don't like on my games, like luck-based gameplay, button mashing and a lot more. However, if there is one underrated title on this series, it has to be Mario Party DS. Yeah, it has the same flaws as the rest of the series, but most of the minigames and game modes are fun and really know how to use the DS abilities. But something that really shocked me about Mario Party DS was the really fun and original bosses you had to fight after you beat each board in the game's story mode. I truly liked all of these boss fights, with one exception. The first one, the Piranha Plant. Now, you may be thinking that this doesn't look half bad, but trust me, it plays worse than it looks. First of all, you will have to fight him by floating in a fucking balloon, and this made the controls of the battle just clunky and weird, especially when he tries to suck you in, since you will have to constantly press the A button if you want to escape. Button mashing. Wonderful. Seriously, it doesn't matter how hard I try, I almost never escape from him. But that is just the beginning. If the Piranha Plant doesn't eat you, you will have to catch the bomb seeds he spits and then throw them in his mouth to deal damage. And what's so bad about this? Well, the way the seed bombs are shot is completely random, and it can be really frustrating to catch and avoid them. Overall, the Piranha Plant was a totally bad first impression when it came to Mario Party DS bosses, and while it may not seem like a too bad battle, you should definitely try it out to see what I'm talking about. Well, this was a joke-free segment.
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
Now, you may have noticed that I have never ever talked about Sonic the Hedgehog on any of my countdowns.
What the fuck is a Sonic?
No, seriously, that would be because I just never had the chance to get into this symbolic video game franchise. But I recently checked out the DS and Genesis games, and I really like them so much that I'm sure I'm going to try the main console titles someday. But why did I like this series instantly? Well, apart from the interesting characters and fast platforming, it has some sweet and fun boss battles, especially the DS games. However, there are some battles that are just plain annoying and stupid, and while I could choose a lot of them, I decided to pick the Airclimber from Sonic Rush for number 7. First of all, look at this. It's a fucking scale! This is one of the good examples that show Eggman sometimes runs out of ideas. At first the fight is not too bad, you have to kick the electric ball to reach the doctor's cabin and hit him. Simple enough, right? However, the more damage you deal, the more annoying it becomes. The ball will constantly go faster and faster, making it almost impossible to hit it to damage Eggman. And if you do hit it, it will be most likely surrounded by electricity, and you will be damaged instead. This really gets annoying after a good time, and meanwhile you will have to avoid little insect minions and an electric quake attack, which is almost impossible to dodge. Overall, the Airclimber has a plain design and concept, and an annoying and repetitive method of attacking. This is just a shit stain on a very good game, and the worst part, just like every other boss on Sonic Rush, you will have to fight it twice. Excellent, Sega, just excellent.
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
Ah, Okami, what a wonderful game, with interesting art style, a charming world, likable characters, excellent gameplay, and you get to play as a white doggy! Whee! One of the best aspects of Okami were the brush techniques and the way they were implemented in the boss fights, using different abilities to find their weaknesses and then kicking their asses. It was so clever and fun that it was almost impossible to find a bad boss in this game, but I did, and it's no other than Fartman. What? You're telling me his name is Blight? Well, I just think Fartman fits him better. You can find him inside the Emperor after a very original and interesting level in which everything is small. I admit it, Fartman has a pretty interesting backstory of plague spreading, so I was really pumped for his battle, and he just disappointed. Blight will only attack in two ways, either by trying to slice you with a quick slash or by raising all of his blades and throwing them at you. If he uses the first one, you will have to slow time, and if he uses the second one, you will have to slash the blue sword. After you stun him, you just attack, attack and attack his blue blade until he is defeated. Rinse and repeat. This gets really mundane and repetitive after a few times. This means you will only need to use 2 brush techniques during the entire battle instead of multiple ones. Overall, Fartman, I mean Blight, was a big disappointment. You won't need much skill to defeat him, and if you want to defeat him, you will have to get through a repetitive and tedious battle. Also, he's just a big green gas surrounded by swords. They could have tried a little bit more on his design. Oh, and I almost forgot. Just like almost every other boss in Okami, you will have to fight him twice. Excellent, Clover Studios. Just excellent.
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
I said it before and I will say it again. Final bosses are probably my favorite type of bosses ever. They are the perfect way of concluding an amazing game, and they almost always leave you with a sense of satisfaction. I already did my list about that, so you know, you could go and watch it right now. But hold on there. I also want to say that the Crash Bandicoot series has some amazing boss battles as well, especially final bosses, and I also did a list about that topic. And it's a lot better than Maverick's one. Just kidding, Ben, please don't sue me. But I digress. What I wanted to say is that you should take a look at the final boss of the original Crash Bandicoot. Yeah, it's not the best one ever, but it's good enough to keep me interested. It's atmospheric, challenging, and it perfectly closes the game. So, when the second Crash Bandicoot game came out, I am sure everybody was pumped to face Dr. Cortex for a second time. And while the game itself was a masterpiece, the final battle was just pure crap. You will have to chase Cortex through an asteroid field in order to stop him. This scenario may sound cool to some people, but the boss fight itself is not intense, nor fun, or even challenging. It's just a pathetic race to catch Cortex. They were not even trying when they made this awful final battle. And the worst part is that you have to use your jetpack in order to win. And while I have nothing against the jetpack levels in Crash Bandicoot 2, it just has some clunky and uncomfortable controls that made a frustrating attempt of a battle even worse than it already was.
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
Jak 2. Even with its clunky controls and awful checkpoint placement, I still think this was an excellent game. I mean, the Precursor Legacy was a colorful and, to be honest, kinda generic platformer, but this sequel became a dark and violent shooter, and I just adored that because it was done right. One of the best things about Jak 2 was its interesting plot. In this game, Jak and Daxter find themselves in a new place called Haven City, a destroyed city ruled by a tyrant named Baron Praxis. This douchebag made an alliance with a race of evil and deadly creatures known as the Metalheads. The Metalheads were going to destroy the city on purpose to justify Praxis' reign in exchange of an infinite supply of Dark Eco. At the end, their leader, who is revealed to be Core, a friend of Jak, betrays the Baron. Now Jak and Daxter have to go to the Metalhead's nest and finally kill this son of a bitch. Now, just look at Core. He looks so motherfucking cool! After that great betraying plot and that badass design, I was expecting an amazing final battle, and all I got was just lame. The final match against Metalcore is divided in 3 phases. The first one is the most annoying one. That Fadas will stay there, throwing an occasional laser or two at you, and letting all of these Metalhead's minions to do the dirty work for him. And he doesn't send any Metalhead, he sends these fucking annoying little insects! They are small, hard to hit, and they just attack in big groups. I fucking despise these enemies, and trust me, it gets even worse. During the second phase, Core will shoot more lasers, send more annoying insects, and now he sends a type of flying metalheads which are almost impossible to hit. This is basically phase 1 on steroids, some fucking awful steroids. Finally, Core himself will try to fight you, and it's as horrible as the rest of the battle. He's slow, annoying, and constantly spams his laser attack. Overall, I was so disappointed by Metalcore. His design and setup were interesting enough, but the battle was lazy, annoying, frustrating, and overall an awful way to end such a good game.
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
So, Ocarina of Time, which is like, you know, the best game of all time, epic giant lava snake boss fight thing with a giant hammer. Awesome concept. On to the next dungeon now. Yes, I am pumped. Oh fuck, I've heard about this place before. Isn't this like the worst Zelda dungeon ever? Isn't this like the dungeon with Shigeru Miyamoto regret?
Dude, I see what you're doing.
Wait, what? Ethan, what are you saying?
Stop it. Just stop it. You're totally ripping off Rabbit Luigi's segment.
Nah, you must be crazy, Ethan. This is totally different from...
Don't do it, Obsidious. Just don't.
Okay, you got me there. Screw it, number 3 on this list is Rabbit Luigi's least favorite boss, Morpha from Ocarina of Time. Where do I even begin with this awful battle, which was already destroyed by Will himself? Well, I could mention the horrible and uninspired design. I mean, there are tons of cool water creatures they could have used for this, sharks, octopuses, anything, but they went with a living pool of water. Genius, Nintendo, just genius. And then we have the fight itself, which is just terrible. In order to defeat Morpha, you will have to take the brain and slash it with your sword. Basic stuff, isn't it? Well, first of all, Morpha itself is just hard to catch, since it constantly moves around, and his attacks are also annoying, especially if he catches Link and squishes him to death. That will deal a lot of frustrating damage. Oh, and trust me, he will spam it as much as he can. Overall, Morpha is defined by a lot of people to be one of the worst boss battles in video game history. Not only you can find him after one of the most frustrating levels ever, but it also has a plain design and an annoyingly awful battle. And the worst part is that, if you are very good at Zelda, you can find a tactic to defeat him in a few minutes, making Morpha look even more pathetic.
I'll take it all and fucking kill you with it!
You know what? No. Just no. I never got why everybody hated the battle against the ruler of the sky from Kingdom Hearts 3.5a over 2 days. Yeah, it can get annoying at times, but it's really a fun battle for me, and it kinda reminds me of Avian from Shadow of the Colossus. And whatever you say, it's definitely not the worst boss in the game. This is. No! Not the Late Grape! No! I fucking hate this boss battle! And I am sure every Kingdom Hearts fan will agree with me on here. At first you may think that it doesn't look half bad, and I thought that myself until I played it. First of all, you can't damage the Late Grape directly on his weak point. No. First you must destroy all the tentacles around it while avoiding its attacks. And here we find our first problem. They have more health than they should, and they are very hard to hit. But when you knock all of those fucking tentacles, it will be stunned, leaving itself open for attacks. But here is my main gripe with the Late Grape. He stays there just for a few seconds, and you will not be able to drain too much health from him, along with the fact that it has a lot of HP, and you will find yourself with a tedious, frustrating, and very long boss fight. The Late Grape is an awful boss. You will die during this battle, since you will use all of your resources at some point. It's tedious, long, annoying, and overall one of the worst bosses I ever faced. I seriously met people who couldn't even beat this fantastic game because of the Late Grape. It almost made it on the #1 spot, but he has a cool design and concept, since he was a cannibal heartless. But the execution was so awful that he ended up this high. I hate you, Late Grape! Well, that sure was a lot of hate. But before we get to the awful #1 spot, let's recap. Number 10, The Fear! Number 9, Lololo and La La La. Number 8, The Piranha Plant. Number 7, The Airclimber. Number 6, a stupid joke about Fartman, Blight. Number 5, Cortex. Number 4, Metalcore. Number 3, Morpha. And number 2, that fucking Late Grape.
Go! Oh fuck!
Believe it or not, my least favorite boss battle of all time is from Shadow of the Colossus. You may be saying, but Obsidious man, I thought that game is supposed to be full of epic and amazing boss battles. How can it have a bad one? Well, my friends, I found one boss fight on this awesome game that is so cheap, so annoying, and so lame that it earned its spot as my #1. I mean, just look at all these colossi. They are all big, epic, fun, and challenging, but #1 fails in all of those aspects. You know, screw this build-up. You all watch my top 16 Shadow of the Colossus bosses, right? Right? So you know who it is. Celosia. Motherfucking Celosia. The 11th Colossus from this game. Ever since I did my top 16, I thought that I didn't give credit to all the rage this fucker made me feel. But now, it's time to let all of this anger go. Where could I begin? Oh yeah, with his design. Celosia is the smallest colossi in the game. Just look at him. We faced a big-ass bird, a big-ass dragon, a big-ass minotaur, and now you have to fight this little pig thing. That's so lame for Shadow of the Colossus standards. Yes, I am aware that he's not the only small boss in the game, but the other one, Zenobia, actually had a fair and entertaining battle, showing us that Silosia's problem is not only on his size. And if you thought his size was not pathetic enough, just look at the way you discover his weak spot, by scaring his ass with a fire stick. Unlike the other Colossi, this is not fun, or clever, or even original. It just makes him look even lamer than it already was. After a time using the fire, Silosia will fall off his back and break his armor, and this is when the nightmare begins. Never ever ever jump down to fight him. If you do, you will suffer a lot. Silosia will quickly wake up and ram into you, and every time he does this, it will take Wander about 30 seconds to recover. This is not only annoying as all fuck, but that douchebag will spam this attack over and over and over and stop! And even if you manage to climb up to his back, you will still have a bad time, since he doesn't even give you a chance to prepare your attack and stab him. You will deal very few damage until you fall off there, and you will have to deal with him again. Silosia from Shadow of the Colossus is my least favorite boss battle and one of my most hated moments in video game history because of obvious reasons. His design was pathetic and the way you defeat him was stupid and unrelated to the rest of this epic game. His attacks were incredibly cheap and annoying, and the entire battle was just frustrating and anger-inducing. And the worst part, just like Morpha, there is actually a way of defeating Silosia in a few seconds. When I discovered this, I tried it and now this fucker has my best record in time attack mode. This will show you, stupid pig! I am Obsidious fan, and Silosia from Shadow of the Colossus can go and die in hell! Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. I promise I will try to be more cheerful.